Hello.
Hi, Deborah Ann?
Yes, hi,
Hi.
Blake, right?
Yeah, this is Blake from the Electric Playground. It's nice to talk to you.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you very much for doing this interview today.
Oh, sure. I'm excited. I'm really excited about the second season. So it's been really fun doing the promotion, actually.
Awesome, yeah. So season 2 of Daredevil starts today on Netflix. So let the binge watching commence. I've already plowed through the first 3 episodes myself, but what can general audiences expect to see from the new season?
Well, obviously we have 2 new, very exciting characters in Frank Castle and Electra Natchius. And great actors, like a really 2 lovely additions to our team, because Charlie Nelson and I and Rosario, we're pretty tight-knit, understand each other and the way we work. And, it probably is a little scary joining into that, but they just jumped in head first and, immediately became great friends with everyone. So I think really everyone can look forward to their performances.
Cool. So what's Karen Page up to in the new season?
Well, I think Karen Page is doing everything she can to convince herself that she's not a bad person. I think ending that first season, she worked all season to try to bring down Union Allied and this corruption that she saw that had affected her and others so badly, and
right.
And then it brought her to this point where she had to kill another human being, and I think you of course never get over that.
Right.
So I see her trying to find lightness. She wants to be a bright, light, positive spot in the universe because she's so afraid of this dark person in her that was capable of doing that to Wesley. I think this season is about her trying to kind of exorcise that demon.
Cool, yeah, and that's actually the thing I find interesting about her characters, because every superhero story has that character or characters who are the friend of the superhero and they don't know that their friend's a superhero. But with Karen, she's kind of like the superhero herself. She's going out trying to help people make the world a better place, and she's done some things that she's not proud of herself. So what do you think makes her unique? Is that
well,
accurate?
I think for your leading female character to be morally questionable is a really unique, idea, storytelling purpose. And I'm really feel privileged to be a part of it in that way. And, she does a lot of questionable things, and she's really, I think she's questioning herself and her own motives and her own ideas. And the interesting thing about the combination, I think, of Karen Page and Frank Castle in the second season, which is this kind of great, unexpected relationship that happens.
Oh, really? I haven't gotten that far yet.
Yeah, you haven't gotten that far yet. I'm sorry to spoil that for you.
That's okay.
But the connection there, I think, is really fascinating, because she has to find a way to sort of somehow believe that he belongs in prison and that he is a bad person, but also understand him and even kind of like him,
right.
kind of respect him. And he becomes this sort of odd mentor for her. I ended up reading The Silence of the Lambs as a way to sort of inspire myself and get that sense, because, Hannibal Lecter is a fascinating character and becomes a twisted mentor for Clarice. And although this isn't quite that, I wanted to remind myself that she possibly even admires him in some way.
Wow. So she's kind of like a foil for the audience in a way, because
exactly.
Foil's not the right word, but you know what I mean. The audience is projecting themselves.
The idea is that you should see him through her eyes in some way. That
right.
Karen goes back and forth. She, in the beginning he's a monster, but then she starts to understand, and then she feels shame for thinking that it's okay what he does, and then she has to come around full circle when she sees how vicious he can be. I mean, it's a real roller coaster, I think, for her, and especially relating it to the end of the first season where, she had to kill someone. She was put in a situation where she had to take that step, and realizing, one, that she's capable of that is hard enough, but then to look at the Punisher, who is doing that same thing but intentionally, if he's a monster, then what does that make her?
Right. Wow. I can't wait to see that. So there are a lot of great female characters. Karen Page is obviously the leading one, but now we have Elektra and obviously Jessica Jones in her own show. Not to get too deep, but do you think there are enough female characters in the Marvel universe and the superhero genre as a whole?
I mean, I think we're talking about a very, comic books and their stories are a very old art form. And so it's going to go through all of the same cultural fluctuations that our own society goes through. So, the Karen Page of the very first, Daredevil series does not reflect women today, obviously, but it maybe did reflect what male writers thought of women back then. And so, I think the fact that we're seeing more and more powerful, strong female characters starting to come about really shows that, not only are writers and audiences wanting to see more strong female characters, but actresses are stepping up, that we're stepping up and we're saying, no, I want this character to have more depth. I'm not willing to just play the pretty sidekick. I want my role to be as morally questionable as the male role.
Great. And also, Karen Page becomes a full-fledged sidekick to Daredevil in some of the more recent comics. Is that something you hope to do on the show?
I don't know. I mean, our Karen is sort of so unique. It doesn't, it feels inspired by Karen of the comics, but it doesn't feel like any one of them. So I don't know. I sort of have to see what that would look like. The writers would have to write it and have to read it and see how it goes. I mean, in a way, I think she already is. You look at Wilson Fisk. Daredevil came at him from one side, from the nighttime activities side, and Karen came at him from the other, from the, I spent 12 hours in the clerk's office searching for a misplaced file, and I found it, and this is how I found him. I mean, that moment was really big for me, and I always wondered if audiences really got it, that it was a misplaced file, that Karen had to spend all day searching through things to find that, and then she brings it into the boys, and they go, we can't use it. I mean, it's this frustrating system that I think she's constantly fighting against.
Cool. And so Daredevil obviously breaks a lot of new ground in the superhero genre because it's a lot more gritty and violent than we're used to, and has a lot of more adult character development too. But it also breaks new ground in that it's an online streaming show produced by Netflix, and that's a genre that has been set up with House of Cards and Orange is the New Black, but it's still very new. How is it any different working on a show like Daredevil than, say, a show like True Blood?
I mean, sure. I mean, there's difference in the storytelling. The way that you tell it can be, you don't have to necessarily hook people at the end of the episodes, and you don't necessarily have to recast what you did because it wasn't so long ago that they saw it.
Right, they're probably watching them all in one go.
Yeah, or they can go back and watch it again. They have access to it in that way. But I think for me, and I was talking about this earlier with someone, there's this sense of like a 3-act structure that we all sort of learned growing up, and we've seen it in every movie and in every story that we've ever read, and we know it so well now that we can kind of predict how stories will go, because we just sort of know, this is the moment when the villain gets his comeuppance. The great thing about this streaming binging idea, I think, is that we don't have to be such a slave to that structure. We can surprise you by bringing our villain in 4 hours into our story. We have some more liberty with that, and I think that allows it to be a bit more surprising. I feel like we're kind of in I like to call it a television age, like a WTF television phase, where it's just about shock and awe. And I like that with Daredevil, we go slow and we earn every single shocking moment, that it's surprising to you because it makes sense and you didn't see it coming, rather than it doesn't make sense. So I think the streaming really allows for us to play with that.
Cool. Do you binge watch when you watch a show on Netflix?
I do. I've discovered the way that I like to consume television is I usually wait till a series is over, and then I start at the beginning and watch all the way through, and then I'll pick another one and start at the beginning. It takes me weeks. I don't go that fast, but
I do exactly the same thing. I'm not with Daredevil. I watch the whole season at once, but other shows, I just wait till it's on Netflix and then I just watch the whole thing.
Watch the whole thing. It's very satisfying that way, to feel like you're watching a story from beginning to end. Yeah,
definitely. So I think I'm almost out of time. So I don't want to take up more of your time. I'll just ask one last question. And Daredevil is for adults, so I can ask this question. What's the best Daredevil Season 2 drinking game?
Oh, goodness. A drinking game.
Not to put you on the spot.
Well, I'm not a drinker, so I don't I don't have a lot of experience in this area. Let me think. Oh, I thought there'd be a good one.
Sorry, I put you on the spot with that one, didn't I?
I know. If I'd known before, I could have come up with a really good answer. I don't know. I would say maybe every time Foggy cracks a joke, because then you wouldn't get too drunk, but you'd have a really good time getting drunk.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you very much for speaking with me today.
Of course, my pleasure.
Thank you. And,
all right, well, enjoy the rest of the season.
I definitely will. It's out now.
Okay.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for checking out that video on our EPN channel. It's just one small part of the things that we make around here. So if you liked it, don't forget to check out some of our other vids and hit that subscribe button.